When I bought my Ferrari, I thought that would impress everybody. Here's what happened. The rumor around my neighborhood began. Steve's a drug dealer. Hello, and welcome to the Total Wealth Academy podcast. I'm your host, Steve Davis. Today, we're going to talk about something that can be a little sensitive. We're going to talk about the ego and how it can either propel you towards failure or it can propel you towards success. See, there's a lot of negativity to the word ego, but it's really only negative if you don't control it. See, most people, their ego is controlled by the advertisers. Their ego is attached to big houses, fancy cars, purses, watches, vacations. Their ego is attached to all these things that make them look successful versus being successful. This is why most people live paycheck to paycheck. Every time that they get a raise, they increase their expenses to match the raise. And those increases are oftentimes ego-based. This is when you go from the Ford to the BMW, you go from the Walmart handbag to the Louis Vuitton handbag, you go from the Seiko watch to the Rolex. These are all ego-based decisions, and they damage people because people never get control of their ego. In fact, they don't even realize they can control it. But the ego is very, very controllable. And it's highly motivating. If you think back to what I just described, it's your ego that makes you go buy that fancy car. It's your ego that makes you go buy that bigger house when the house you had was really enough. You know, you want to be in the fancier neighborhood, and it's all to hold up a pretense. People spend all their money hoping that it impresses other people. Well, I got news for you. It doesn't. It doesn't impress other people. You think you're impressing other people, but they don't give a crap. They're not thinking about you. They got their own things to think about, but it's ego-based. I'll give you an example. When I bought my Ferrari, I thought that would impress everybody. Ooh, Ferrari, boom, boom, boom. Here's what happened. The rumor around my neighborhood began. Steve's a drug dealer. It didn't impress anybody. It confused people more than it impressed them. And they made up this rumor that I was a drug dealer. So all these symbols of success, the cars, the houses, the watches, the vacations, all those symbols of success are just that. They're symbols. It's hollow. And it leads people to that. The term is lifestyle creep. Every time you get a raise, you improve the quality of your lifestyle creep. And that's why people live paycheck to paycheck. You know, you go back, think about it. When you were in your 20s and 30s and you made 30 or 40 grand a year, you lived paycheck to paycheck. Well, that makes sense because you were only making 30, 40 grand a year. But here it is 20 years later, you're making 100 grand a year and you're still living paycheck to paycheck. Trust me, that isn't just inflation. That's lifestyle creep. Your ego is getting you to improve your quality of lifestyle to impress people you can't impress, and you just blow all your money. So I hope that you're getting a picture that your ego is a motivator. It motivates you to do dumb stuff if you let it. That's why in my Saturday class, I have a complete section on the ego, friend or foe. Friend or foe. See, if you control your ego, in other words, dictate what it's attached to, it becomes your best friend. It will motivate the hell out of you. Here's the difference. Again, most people's egos are attached to big houses, fancy cars, fancy purses, fancy watches, fancy jewelry, fancy vacations to impress. But what if you took control of your ego and you said, my ego will not be attached to those things, and therefore your ego would not propel you towards those things? And what if you got your ego attached to being physically fit? What if you got your ego attached to having a lifelong, passionate marriage? What if you got your ego attached to having a second stream of income? Guess what your ego would propel you towards? Your ego would propel you towards fitness, romance, and building a second stream of income. See, your ego is your friend. And the reason it's important to make it your friend is because you can't get rid of it. It's there. Any of you that are listening to this and you said, oh, I don't need to listen to this, I don't have a big ego. Oh, you got the biggest ego in the room, because everybody has an ego. If you said, I don't have a big ego, that's the most egotistical thing you could say. It's like saying, I'm the humblest guy you'll ever meet. That's not a humble statement. Saying you're not ego based, that's an ego based statement. See, you can't get rid of your ego. So, what you want to do is control what it is attached to. And again, I listed 3 things, but what you want to do is sit down, write down your goals. Yes, I know you hear this over and over again. Get a set of written goals. It's life changing, I'm telling you. Write down your goals in all 8 parts of a balanced life and get your ego attached to those 8 goals. And the wonderful thing is, your ego will flip flop and it will propel you towards the 8 parts of a balanced life. But you've got to get control of your ego. Now, the good news is it's actually relatively easy to do. You've just got to be aware of it, which, it's like admitting you're obese. That's the first step to getting healthy. It's being in denial of the obesity that perpetuates the obesity. You want to admit it. So the first step is to admit you have an ego. It would be foolish to say you don't. We all have one. The second part is admit that your ego is attached to crap. It's attached to crap. It's attached to the cars, the houses, the jewelry, the purses, the clothes, the blah, blah, blah. All the garbage that I'm telling you, 10 years from now won't mean a damn thing. None of those things mean anything if you're still broke, if you're still living paycheck to paycheck. None of that stuff meant anything, and you blew your money based off of your ego. So, step 1, admit you have an ego. Step 2, admit that your ego is attached to the wrong things, the ineffective things. And then 3, attach your ego to what is important. Get your goals written down, attach your ego to those goals, and it will propel you towards success. So that's it in a nutshell. The key to it, again, admit you have an ego, admit it's attached to the wrong things. Because remember, I mentioned the advertisers. You're going to get beat up as you try to change your ego. You're going to get beat up because as you watch TV, do they advertise long-term marriages, fitness very much, building a second stream of income? Never. No, the TV advertisers are advertising the big house, the fancy cars, the jewelry, the watches. So they're in your head 24/7. the advertisers, trying to get your ego attached to those ineffective, useless things. You're going to have to fight through it and not let them control you. Take control of your ego, and it will be the biggest, second biggest motivator in your life. Your sex drive is your biggest motivator. Your second is your ego, and both of them can propel you towards success. So make a commitment right now to take control of your ego, get it on your team, make it your friend, embrace it, and achieve the goals that you have. All right. I know this was a short one, but it's very important, and I hope that it helps. Thanks for watching, and have a great rest of your day.